So I'm just doing a little very quick mini tutorial just to show how you can get a blended shaded kind of effect just using the Staedtler Fineliners. I'm just going to start, and I haven't got a proper camera so you're going to have to excuse the shaking because I'm just using my phone. I'm just going to start with a really simple little cup image here, and I'm just going to use the light and dark blue. It's very similar to the picture that I posted on Instagram. So what I do, I start with the light blue. Sorry, I have no depth perception here. I'm staring at the screen. Just a sec. There we go. Now, on this image, if we imagine that this is a 3D image, there's going to be a strip of reflected light on the most, I guess, the most concave part or the most curved part of the design, which would be somewhere around here, depending on where the light is coming from. If the light's coming from this side, it's probably going to be more, the strip's going to be off to this side. If it's coming from here, it's going to be down here. So let's just pretend that the light's coming down here. So we're going to imagine an invisible light strip that's just about here, right? So this bit we're going to leave white, okay? Now, because we're only working with two colors, it's going to be hard to get a fine gradation. Obviously, the more colors you use, the easier it will be. And with pencils, it's easier because you can actually blend and smudge. But with the fine liners, just to create the effect, I'm going to show you just a simple feather sort of, I just sort of do, start a little bit heavier and just kind of flick out. See how we get kind of that feathery look? There's my hand in the way there. And you have to excuse my green nails. I did tie-dye the other day, so I've still got the green ink on it. So see how we've done like a feathery kind of, and if you look, if we then apply another layer, see, look at that. We can darken it up. Sorry, that camera's terrible, but hopefully it'll give you the rough effect. See how we're getting a slightly gradiated look, and that's not real good. Look, sorry, my camera won't even zoom any more than that, so I don't know how good this tutorial is going to be. But anyway, so we're going to do that feathering kind of stroke with my lightest blue, and we want it to be really feathered and sparse towards our white strip. So there's going to be a strip here. We just imagine there's an invisible white line, and we're not going to put the pen there at all. So we're just going to streak out. Now this is going to be a bit harder to demonstrate because I've got the flowers here. I probably should have just drawn a little, actually, you know what? Let's do that. Let's ditch the flowers. I've just got my black, and we're just going to draw a simple cylinder shape, okay? Again, excuse the wonkiness. This is just, it's not a great job. We're in a bit of a hurry here. Don't even know how much data I have left on my phone if it's going to stop recording on me. Okay, so remember our feathery step. So we're going to start from here. Here's our strip of light. Ready? We're just going to kind of come in just kind of a, can you see what I'm doing there? Just kind of a skipped feathery motion, all right? And skip. Okay, now we don't want it to be too built up here. Okay, we want it to be quite feathery because, as I said, we've only got the two colors to work with, so you want it quite feathery. Now I'm going to tip it around simply because I find that it's easier to work from this side when you're feathering. Like I can feather quite easily from right to left. So I'm just going to do this, remembering our invisible strip. So now we're just going to do little feathers in the reverse direction. It might take practice to get a little feathery stroke that you're happy with. Okay, so see how we've already got some, turn it around this way. See how we've already got some kind of illusion there already of a 3D shape. Okay, so then you can either come in and darken up. See how my feathers now, I'm not going all the way to the middle, I'm just going sort of halfway. We can just thicken it up on that side. Now, and even come down a little bit like this. Do a little bit of a line. And I just realized I completely forgot to do my reflection line here on the right. Oh my gosh, I should have totally told you that first. Okay, ignore that. For the moment, we're just going to pretend. There. Do you see how, sorry, I'm talking to myself here. Do you see how I've left the edge white now? I've just left a strip a little bit pale. So we're going to reinforce that dark line. Come around like this. Okay. And we're deepening that gradient look. All right. You can come in here a little bit. deepen that gradient. Now we're going to get our next color, just a darker blue. And again, these are not even a great match. This one, as you can see, is quite aqua. It's actually their neon blue, and this is just a regular blue. But you can still mix and match and get some effects you'll be happy with, even with just a few shades. So I'm going to come back into that dark line, see? Now let's pretend that strip there is totally white. Let's pretend I hadn't started feathering already. And then we're just going to repeat the feather gradient look. Okay? See how we're doing this now? And we want to make sure that we're never going over this line, all right? Because if you start biting into your little strip of white, you're going to lose the effect. And as you can see, I've already bitten into the strip of white. So see how we're just coming around again? And now you can even just sort of scribble. I tend to be a little bit of a messy kind of drawer because I think you can get a pretty good effect like that. See how we're building up a 3D effect? Now this is a pretty rough version because I'm holding a camera for a start and I can't really even see what I'm doing because I'm trying to keep my hand out of the way. But you can see that the principle is the same. Now obviously if I was putting my best work into this, I'd be a lot closer, I'd be a lot slower, I'd be doing finer work. I probably wouldn't leave that strip so wide. See how having such a wide strip, it almost gives us the illusion of a metallic finish. If you sort of squint your eyes, you could imagine that it's got, the line is so, the reflection strip is so wide because we could imagine that that's like a very highly reflective surface like metal, and hence the strip would be wider. Look, I'm just saying this as I go. I could be completely wrong, but that's the that seems logical to me. So if this was a if I was doing a better version, I would, that's as close as I can get, but if I was doing a better version, I would be doing finer work. Okay, I'd be closing that gap a little, but as I said, I'm just demonstrating a quick technique here and it's nothing really fancy. You can take your light blue again if you like and just kind of see, I could technically close that gap if I wanted to, but I am trying to keep the video short as well. See, and this is, as I said, quite a messy version. Doesn't look quite as nice as the flask, I don't think, but it does the job. And just coming in with the dark again, sorry. Okay, and so you can darken it up. You might want to just imagine where that light's hitting. If the light's coming from this angle, it's going to be quite dark up in this corner. Okay, and that's how you just work. I just always imagine an imaginary light beam, and I think, now where would that light be hitting? And then I guess my shadows, and I don't always get them right, I really don't. Sometimes I might come in too heavy down the bottom or whatever. And another helpful tip for just when you're doing little objects like this is just to ground your object. Now, if I'm actually out of my grey, I can't find my grey, I lost it somewhere, but I'll just use this lavender, and you can just see, just to ground your object, maybe even just do dithering sort of lines, you know, almost give the illusion of a shadow, especially if that's our source. You can see how, and again, very rough work, I know I keep saying it, but it really is rough, but you can see the principle of how we're getting some pretty good effects. Okay, and I'm just going to show you one more thing, just using this little tulip. I've just sort of replicated a tulip that I did on the design, and I'm going to use these three. So this is almost a buttery, peachy sort of orange, and I just am going to colour it in, just using single strokes, not back and forth, just single for the first layer. And see, I'm not quite coming in at the top. I always like to leave a little white somewhere. You can't even see that because of the terrible zoom function. But see, I like to leave a little bit of white. Then just maybe colour it a little bit deeper, a little bit darker. See that? See, we're already getting a little bit of shade and texture. Then I'm going to get the dark orange. And I haven't even tried this combo, I don't think, but we'll see how it goes. When you're first starting out, don't be too heavy-handed, or maybe have a little practice on another piece of paper. See how I'm just bringing in darker colours to get a bit of a controlled gradient there. And as I said, it's not going to be as effective as the kind of gradients you can get if you're using like Copic markers, Tombow, if you're using a very wet kind of ink or a broad tip or blendable pencils are going to give you a much finer look, but fine liners work in a pinch and it gives you a kind of different, almost stylized look if you like. And then I often will take a colour from a totally different spectrum like this magenta and just come in on the bottom, and I find it can just give that little bit of depth. See how I'm just almost doing like a shadowy kind of, just playing. And if it looks a little bit funny, I might even come back in with the orange and just try and blend those lines. Keeping in mind you'll be darkening your design as you do this, so that is something to remember, okay? You can see we've turned this into quite a dark tulip now. So you could have stopped before, or you can just keep going. And see, if you keep going over, you're getting quite a bit of ink on there and it's going to bleed and help those lines to blend. And I'm sure there's, you know, products and things that you can apply, clear blenders. I've got no idea, but this is just a little technique I've used with the fine liners, and I find it gives me a little bit of diversity. So even though I don't have a whole heap of colours, I can play around with the ones that I do have. I mix and match and I overlay them on each other. And just to give you, I guess, one more demonstration, I'm just going to take the lavender here and I'll just show you a little, see how you can just kind of, let's just do a couple of lines. Don't put too much effort in. So you can get that, it's a very scratchy look, but then you can come back over, darken it up, and that's how you can get gradient effects. Make sense? Go even lighter still. Can be tricky, but even lighter still. Okay, and that's just the kind of effect you can get. And even again, maybe come in with the magenta, maybe darken it up. Sometimes I'll get a lighter colour, like maybe the pink, and just go over the whole thing and see what it does. Sometimes I've come up with some interesting sort of combos like that. That's not a particularly great one, but you see where I'm coming from. Yeah. And again, these are a very scratchy version. The camera's terrible. If I was actually using a colouring book, I'd be doing it much neater than that. But it's just to give you the idea. Another thing to be aware of is if you are doing several layers, you don't want to be going too heavy-handedly or getting the paper too wet, or your paper is going to start balling up. It's going to rub up, or you're going to saturate the page with too much ink and it can bleed through to the other side of your paper. And I think what I like about the Joanna Basford colouring books is that they're quite thick, but still, and she's got a tester page at the back, so it's still worth testing out. But have a little play. See what you think, and yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Bye.